If you're a church media leader, you probably have some ideas you're super excited about. These are big ideas, big projects, things you know that would help your department, things you keep telling yourself, we'll get to that. I was at lunch recently with a couple of church media leaders, and I asked them a simple question. What's the biggest thing holding you back right now? Their answer wasn't gear, it wasn't money, it was they. If you feel like your best ideas are just sitting there gathering dust, you're not alone. And the problem usually isn't that the idea's bad, it's that there's no margin to think, decide, and actually move. If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you, because what stalls most church media departments isn't lack of ideas, it's lack of margin. Margin to think, plan, move. One of the shifts I want to help you make through this series is learning to think less like a tech and more like a high-level producer. You know, when everything feels urgent, nothing strategic ever gets done. And over time, good intentions eventually turn into frustrations. Back to that lunch. So these guys were sharp, experienced, they do high-level work. They told me they felt stuck waiting on direction from someone higher up that was even in another department. So I said, what would happen if you stopped waiting and brought a decision to them instead? Not the problem, not every option, the decision. What if you walked in and said, here's what I think we should do? Did we go with option A? Did we go to option B? They paused for a second, and then one of them said, Dan, you're right. I think that could actually work. I see this all the time. Church media leaders, they don't stall because they don't care. They stall because their weeks are packed. They've got services to prep, problems to solve, people to support. Everything's reactive. And when everything's reactive, there's no space left to think ahead. So all those bigger initiatives stay on the back burner. Talking about the ones that actually move the department forward. The ones that matter long after you've moved on from your job. Here's something I've learned. When you're about 70% ready with something, it's usually when you should move. Surprisingly, it's not 100%. If you wait till 100, it usually means you're buying time instead of deciding. I see so many leaders that are maybe 80, 90% done. Solid plan, details are thought out, and they still don't move. They wait for one more meeting, one more sign off, one more layer of certainty. It's like they're comfortable talking about the idea and planning it, but they really have no intention of doing it. And here's the crazy thing. The things you're waiting on often don't become clear until after you take the first step. Once you move, conversations start happening. Feedback gets more specific, things sharpen, momentum creates direction, not the other way around. So producers live in this space. They don't wait for the perfect condition. They make the best decision they can with the information they have, and then they adjust. Because leadership isn't about being right immediately. It's about being willing to move and correct course quickly. One thing I've noticed is this, when you make the shift from being just the tech at a church to thinking like a producer, you start seeing different things on the horizon. You start seeing projects, producer level projects, things that actually move the department forward, not just week to week, but long term. I mean, you still care about the gear, you still care about Sunday, those things are huge, they matter, but they stop being everything. And that's when your focus starts to change from just keeping things running to actually building something. You might be thinking, Dan, I'm a technical director at my church. That's my job. That's what I was hired to do. And I get that. I used to think the exact same way. I thought, my pastor's not even looking to me for big picture stuff. They just want me to run the systems. Make sure Sunday's good, just do that. But here's what I've seen over the years. I've watched people spend their entire career thinking only like a tech, and they never get promoted. They never get invited into bigger conversations. They stay exactly where they are. Not because they're bad at their job, but because they never change how they think. If you want to grow in your career, if you want better opportunities, if you want people to start seeing you as a leader and bringing you into rooms you've never been in before, you have to start thinking like a producer. It doesn't mean you stop caring about the tech side. It means you start seeing beyond it. That shift, that's what changes how people see you. A few years ago, I decided to launch my company. I was going to launch it in January of the following year. And at the time, it was only 2 months away, not far. But immediately after I decided this, I got called and asked to step in as a producer on a new Paramount show. And that required me to move to Las Vegas for several weeks. There were some long days, unpredictable schedule. And at the same time, I needed to do a lot of details to get the company going, like the name, the logo, website, paperwork, all the details, all that fun stuff. So when I got to Vegas, they put me in an Airbnb with a few of the other crew members. I had my own room, I had a bed, chair, no desk. So I made the decision that every morning I set my alarm for 4 a.m. because I knew everyone else would still be asleep. There'd be no interruptions, no questions, no fires to put out, just one quiet hour. I'd sit in that chair, laptop on my knees, and start knocking things out, little by little. That's how the company took shape. And last November, they had me back in Vegas for season 3. And I was in the same house, same room, same furniture, or lack thereof. In fact, I took a picture of it because that's where my dream became a reality, that little room. Over the years as a church media director, I realized something. The pressure, those long weeks, the seasons I barely survived, they weren't wasted. They positioned me to help you, to help others who are sitting in that same seat. That's why I do what I do, because I get it. I get you. I've been where you are. You don't need unlimited time. You need some margin, even if it's temporary. Because once you start moving, things begin to line up. Momentum doesn't come from waiting, comes from starting. And here's the hard part. Margin usually doesn't come from finding more time. It comes from removing something. That's tough, especially in church media world, because a lot of what fills our calendars isn't bad. It's just not essential. Meetings you may not need to be in anymore, tasks you've always done out of habit, problems you keep fixing that someone else could be trained to handle. When everything feels important, nothing gets questioned. And when nothing gets questioned, margin never shows up. It's just like a checking account. You've got a set amount of money coming in. And if you spend more than you make, there's no margin. So you've either got to increase what's coming in or you got to cut something. You got to cut spending. Time and energy work the same way. So let's get really practical for a minute. Margin doesn't look the same for everybody. If you're a morning person, it might mean getting up a little earlier, make that coffee, find a quiet spot in the house, maybe even go into work early before everyone else is there. Use that time to work on the thing that actually moves your department forward. If you're not a morning person, maybe you stay at work a little bit later when it's quiet, or you go to a coffee shop after work. The point isn't the time of day, it's finding the space when your brain actually works the best. And then protect it, because the moment you start doing this stuff, I promise you, things will try to take your attention away. Somebody's going to ask for a meeting. They're going to say, hey, let's go grab lunch. Or, hey, can you jump on a real quick call? And you got to be willing to say, I'm booked at that time. Can we look at something else? Can we look at another time? And here's the key part. You have to actually put this on your calendar. A lot of us schedule every task, to-do list we have, the meetings, deadlines, responsibilities. But those big, important ideas, the ones that actually can change things, big things, we never block time for those. So we always lose, right? I encourage you to try this. It makes a bigger difference than you think. And here's something simple to try. Ask yourself, what project am I delaying because I don't have margin to think? Not because it's a bad idea, not because it's unclear, but because there's no space for it yet. Then ask, what's one small block of time I can protect just to start moving it forward? I'm not even talking finishing it. Just get the thing going. That's usually where momentum starts. Momentum doesn't happen if it's sitting still. It's that initial getting going. So if you're always waiting for the perfect moment, you're going to stay stuck. But when you're willing to start before everything feels finished, things begin to move because you stopped waiting and started moving forward.